We are Electric Prism.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh.
Alright, we're good. I just had to turn on the recording.
Oh, okay. I'll do it a little bit.
Two. Hold your horses. Alright, we're ready now.
Good afternoon and welcome to our presentation. We're Electric Prism. Our team is made up of Hannah, Lauren, Juliana, Beatrice, and myself, Andrea. Hannah's on sick today, as previously stated. For this meeting, our objectives are to highlight the methods of research utilized, our approach to the client's need, and synthesis of research findings. To meet these objectives, we'll go over these 4 steps. The brief presented by the client, what methods we implemented during our research, the outcomes from our findings, and last, the next steps in our research journey. Let's begin with our brief. In 2010, President Barack Obama introduced the Freedom of Information Act, also known as FOIA. This law gives citizens full or partial disclosure to previously unreleased United States government information upon their request. Our challenge is to create a new microsite for our city, which streamlines the way citizens access relevant information and communicate with their elected representatives. And although the government has been in compliance, current systems lack a standard way to disclose information that is relevant, and we saw an opportunity to streamline transparent, collaborative, and pleasant experience for the user. We proceeded on to our research. The methods that we analyzed chose for our research were the competitive analysis to identify direct and indirect competitors, our subject matter expert interviews to learn how current platforms engage with citizens and what types of information is available, and lastly, our user interviews. Focus on current ways of seeking and finding government information and the type of information users are seeking, bringing us closer to understanding the challenges and areas of opportunity within each platform. Leading us into our competitive analysis. We narrowed our focus to the city of Chicago and Chicagoland. We visited a variety of local sites to explore their accessibility, ranging from topics like city budget, tax, city council meetings, and current ways to communicate with elected representatives. With cityofchicago.gov, it is the go-to platform for Chicago residents to find information pertaining to laws, codes, events, and its elected officials. Chicago City Clerk, which enables users to live stream council meetings or watch past meetings in the same video format. GovTrack.us provides up-to-date information on the status of current legislation and movements of congressional members. Illinois Policy provides an interactive map that allows users to identify their local representatives as well as contact them directly. Chicago Council-Matic has a sophisticated classification system that enables easy browsing through the website. And lastly, My Reps connects users to their local representatives, and similarly to Illinois Policy, has the same platform to contact them directly from the website. Nonetheless, as sophisticated as some of the sites were, we found common challenges from overwhelming amounts of information, lack of consistency with the information provided from site to site, to simply poor design choices that severely impacted the journey from frustrating to making it inaccessible. We identified our area of opportunity as a happy medium between a narrowed scope of focus and progressive disclosure for sites containing a lot of information. The next step in our research phase was to conduct interviews to obtain a more in-depth understanding of the city's governing system. Starting off with subject matter interviews, our requirements were that interviewees would be over the age of 18 and directly involved with or have an in-depth understanding of the Chicago metropolitan area governing system. We interviewed an aldermanic candidate, a lawyer, and a small business center manager. From our aldermanic candidate, we heard, the problem with a lot of information is that it can be very hard for the average person to really comprehend the way that the data is distributed. The biggest insight that we gained from our SMEs was that while information on various government-related topics such as budget, city council and committee meetings, and permits and licensing is out there, the information is scattered and distributed in a way that's difficult for the average person to understand. From there, we moved on into our user interviews to identify the most common pain points and the largest areas of opportunity for improvement. Our requirements for our user interviews were that they would be over the age of 18, residing in the Chicago metropolitan area, and also interested in the local government and its resources. We ended up interviewing 5 entrepreneurs, 3 individuals interested in the local government, 1 looking to engage with city council, and 1 who needed to interact with the governing body due to a specific topic. Initially, our audience requirements were pretty broad, which made it hard to get conclusive findings from the interviewees. But then, as we moved into our research synthesis and into our affinity diagramming, we had 5 researchers who poured over 160 post-it notes with endless cups of coffee. We started seeing a pattern. One of our users told us, "I only look up information if I feel like it has something to do with me or my business or the things I have to do for my business." 7 out of 10 of our users mentioned that they never looked into topics such as budget, tax income, city council meetings, and voting history because they didn't feel that it was relevant to them. Another user told us it was just endless answers, and they all kind of said different things. So it's hard to gauge what exactly it was that I had to do and where to go to do it. We heard from 7 out of 10 interviewees that the permit and licensing process was frustrating since information was inconsistent between sources and there was no visibility on the progress of their application status. After gathering these insights from our research, we moved into creating our persona. Her attributes are derived from the commonalities that we noticed from among interviewees who had experience with the permit and license process. Kirsten is an aspiring small business owner with potential interest in the full array of permits and licenses required by the city of Chicago. Her motivations, frustrations, and needs are sourced directly from our interviewees. Kirsten is frustrated with the complexity of the current permit and licensing resources. She's having trouble finding what she's looking for. This frustration was shared by 8 out of 10 of our interviewees, who commented on the difficulty they experienced in finding and comprehending the available resources, noting that information was inconsistent, inadequate, or overwhelming. Due to the wide variety of conflicting information, Kirsten is also frustrated with the lack of verification supplied by current resources. She doesn't trust that the available information is accurate or complete. The same frustration was expressed by 6 out of 10 interviews who cited both corruption and inconsistency across platforms as significant concerns. Sorting through these resources to find valuable information has wasted Kirsten's time, and she's frustrated with the inefficiency of the current system. 5 out of 10 interviewees shared this opinion, suggesting that resources be consolidated into one source so they wouldn't be forced to dig through content to find what they needed. Moving on to her needs. As she begins the process of licensing her small business, Kirsten needs access to reliable and understandable resources so she can determine her next steps. This need was shared by 9 out of 10 of our interviewees who struggled with the online permit process because of conflicting, overwhelming, or insufficient information. Intimidated by the complexity of the information she's found, Kirsten is looking for some guidance to ensure that she's following the correct process. The same desire was expressed by 6 out of 10 of our interviewees, who mentioned they either had or would have benefited from guidance in the permit and license process because they were concerned about making a mistake and potentially delaying their approval. As she moves forward with her permit application, Kirsten is looking for easy access to up-to-date information regarding both current requirements and the status of her submitted application. 4 out of 10 of our interviewees had the same need, but were forced to call repeatedly for updates because they received no notification of progress.
This led us into our opportunity space. Taking into account the needs and the frustrations of our potential users, we saw a new solution within the permit and licensing landscape. Residents of Chicago, whose goal is to research or obtain permits and licenses, need a digital tool to help clarify and guide the approval process, because current government resources can be ambiguous, making it difficult to identify the necessary steps to achieve their goal. Going into our journey map. Next, we will follow Kirsten's journey on applying to a permit and license to open up her own business to understand her struggles a little bit more. Firstly, we broke up her journey into 5 key steps: researching license and permit information, finding application forms, completing these forms, submitting, and then tracking her application process. On this graph, the top line represents the high points, or the point where Kirsten is happy and relieved. The middle is the so-so, And then the lowest is the frustrations or moments of feeling sad. While researching license and permit information, Kirsten feels frustrated because there is no clear way to know she has the correct information. While navigating this confusing process, she can't help but wonder what professionals in her industry are doing. While finding application forms, she feels frustrated that she can't do everything online, since the current industry standards only allow her to download the forms in her computer, but then she still has to go into City Hall to actually submit these forms. When she completes these forms, she finds herself extremely worried that her information might be wrong and wishes there is a way for her to check, since a single mistake could set back the process for weeks, which is not only frustrating but an extreme loss in revenue since her business cannot be open. When she is finally ready to submit these forms, she becomes scared that she could potentially have forgotten something. But then she feels automatically relieved that the process is done. After submitting, Kirsten is interested in tracking her progress for when she can expect to receive her permit. As she continues waiting, she wonders if she should call to check up on her progress, costing her more time and effort. When she finally receives the permit, Kirsten's journey is complete and she is happy that she can focus on what matters most, her business. As you can see, the process is mostly negative, only reaching high points of relief when the process is done and the product is finally within her hands. The journey map gave us insights on some areas of opportunity for our digital platform. The first insight we gathered was the ability to put permit and license information all in one place to avoid users going to several different platforms to find the information they are looking for. The next was learning from professionals who have the experience in the industry to ensure the process is being done correctly. Third is providing a clear list of requirements and deadlines so that the process goes as smooth as possible with no setbacks from missing documents. Lastly, there is opportunity to have a clear indication of application processing and turnaround time so that users are provided with transparency and accurate expectations. Going into our design principles. Through research, we came up with 3 design principles that will continue to guide us throughout this project. Since our app is centered around our users, the design principle titles are worded in the way that users would communicate with us to continuously help keep them in mind. Our descriptions are a promise to them. Our first design principle is give me credible information. This ensures that all information is in line with the industry standards from official sources. The next is let it be fun. The digital platform we create will help us make a typically laborious task and boring task into a joyous experience by adding personality and empathy. Lastly, help me understand but don't overwhelm me, which is addressing the frustration of users seeing too much information on government websites. We aim to provide a consistently simple platform of information, avoiding cognitive overload.
Thank you. So, our team did all this research and synthesized all this data, and we wanted to see what our users were actually going through firsthand after hearing their pain points. So we decided to apply for a business license ourselves. Awesome.
Oh, it's upside down.
Oh, it's upside down. Sorry. So we went to our direct competitor, chicago.gov, and it seems really straightforward. You go and you fill out your name, your email, and your phone number, and the website will then send you a special login code to your email in which it enters back into their website. Without this special code generated from the government's official site to your email, you cannot move forward in the process. We waited 3 days and the email never came. So even with information out there, glitches like this make it next to impossible to move forward in the current online process. So there's opportunity for us here to take something that's really confusing and laborious and daunting and make it clear, understandable, and fun. The product we will eliminate friction with current process and encourage people to live out their dreams. Maybe they want to start a new business. Maybe they want to renovate their home and feel that they are actually a part of their neighborhood because they can park in it. By making the permit and licensing process approachable and accessible, people can embark on new adventures with ease. So our next steps within our team is to look at who's doing it well. Who's taking big, complicated communication systems and making them clear and understandable? Where are they successful and unsuccessful? How can we cherry pick from their successes and shape it into our own? Based on our design principles, give me credible information, let it be fun, help me understand, but don't overwhelm me. We'll set the structure for our concepts. And then these potential concepts will translate into a low fidelity prototype. And the prototypes will be tested on potential users addressing their goals, motivations, and pain points. So suggestions for the online solution so far: keep it simple, with only necessary information. Make it comprehensible so users understand what they need, and provide within the application service. Make it approachable and fun. Encourage the user to go through the process from beginning to end. And finally, become a GPS. Become the resource that navigates users in the most efficient way, showing them where they are within the process and how and when they will arrive to their goal. So we wanted to say thank you to the government for the opportunity to make the citizens of Chicago's lives a little easier as they go forward within the permits and process licensing, and our team would like to take this time to ask some questions. Have we clearly identified and addressed the opportunity? Does our problem statement reflect the needs of our users as we understood them from the research? Finn.